I didn't dream it. I know that now. You could try to tell yourself that things like this aren't real, alien contact, blackouts, voices inside your head. But once you've seen what I've seen, there's no going back. I was on my way back from the off-license, just past 10 p.m., bit of a drizzle, quiet street. Same as always. Except it wasn't. There was a light in the sky. Not flashing. Not moving. Just hovering. Still. Silent. Wrong. I stopped walking. Something about it, about the way it seemed to hum without sound, froze me in place. I could feel it in my bones before I even knew I was scared. The hairs on my arms stood up, and the world around me went dead. No wind. No cars. No dogs barking in the distance. Like everything had paused except me. I stared up at that light for what felt like hours. Then it blinked out. Just gone. Like it had never been there. I thought that was the end of it. But it wasn't. A week later, it came back. Not the light. Something worse. That night, I couldn't sleep. Kept hearing this low hum. Like a microwave just at the edge of my hearing. I got up, walked to the window, and there it was. Standing at the end of my street. Still. Unmoving. Tall. I didn't know what it was then, not fully. All I could see were its eyes. Enormous, dark, and glistening like black mirrors. Not blinking. Not reflecting anything. Just looking. My phone was in my hand, but I couldn't move. My legs felt like stone. Every muscle in my body screamed to run, but I couldn't. Something in me knew, if I moved, it would follow. Then I heard it. Not out loud. Not with my ears. Inside my head. A voice. Cold and ancient and terrifyingly calm. It said, "Asterisk, you are not meant to wake." Asterisk. I don't remember anything after that. When I came to, it was morning. I was lying on the floor near my front door, nose bleeding, phone dead, street empty. But the image was burned into my mind. Those eyes, that voice, that sentence, and the feeling, the overwhelming, suffocating feeling that something had noticed me, that it had picked me. I tried telling myself it was a nightmare. Stress, isolation, but I couldn't shake it. Then things started to go wrong. Devices glitching. Random sounds on the baby monitor when I don't have kids. Cold spots in my house. Every time I close my eyes, I see that face. I know what I saw, and I know it's not done with me. There's something else coming. I can feel it, like pressure in the air before a storm. They say humanity has always looked to the stars for answers. Maybe we were never supposed to. Maybe the stars look back. It didn't leave me. Not really. I went on pretending for a while, showing up to work, nodding at people, sipping tea like I wasn't falling apart. But inside, I was fraying. I could feel it watching. Not constantly, but often enough that I stopped turning the lights off when I slept. I didn't tell anyone. Who would believe me? And why, mate? You ever get mentally violated by a sky ghost with jellyfish eyes? Yeah, no. Not unless I wanted to end up in a padded room. But then others started noticing too. It began with a neighbor, Gary for number 12. Retired Army, keeps to himself, solid look. I bumped into him outside one morning, and he looked rattled. Really rattled. Pale, sweating, eyes darting like a caged animal. Said he'd seen something outside his window the night before. Tall figure. No face. Just two black holes staring in. I didn't say anything, just nodded. But inside, my stomach dropped. Next day, Gary was gone. Vanished. No trace. House locked. Mail piling up. Dog barking nonstop inside. I asked around, but no one had seen him leave. Police said, maybe he took a trip. But I knew. I knew what had taken him. It had picked him next. Then came the dreams. They weren't dreams, really. More like transmissions. Vivid flashes of strange architecture. Spires floating in clouds. Machines bleeding light. A sky that wasn't a sky at all, but something alive. And that sound, that low, thrumming pulse. Like it came from inside the earth itself. Every time I woke up gasping, my ears ringing, and my walls vibrating ever so slightly. One night, I tried filming myself asleep, just to see. Left my phone charging on the bedside, camera pointed toward me. What I found in the morning still makes my hands shake. The footage started normal. Me, snoring lightly, nothing unusual. But around 3:17 a.m., the screen glitched. Just for a second. Then again. And then, it wasn't me anymore. I was still in bed, yes. But something stood over me. just out of focus. Long arms. No face. Just those eyes, peering into mine like it was peeling me apart layer by layer. And I, lying there, never moved. Not once. Not even when it leaned closer and whispered something the mic didn't catch. I deleted the video. Not because I didn't believe it, but because I did. Too much. Now, every night I wait. Not because I want to, but because I know it's coming. The lights flicker. My electronics go haywire. Sometimes, the reflection in the mirror isn't mine. It's begun feeding me images. Numbers. Coordinates. Symbols I don't understand, yet somehow feel familiar. As if something deep inside me was being activated. This isn't random. It's a pattern. A transmission. And whatever it is, I think I'm the receiver. I couldn't keep waiting for it to come back. Something inside me snapped after that night. I wasn't just scared anymore. I was angry. Tired of feeling like prey. If I was the receiver, then maybe it wasn't just watching me. Maybe it was trying to tell me something. Or worse, use me. Either way, I needed answers. And for the first time, I wasn't going to sit around waiting for another blackout or bleeding nose to get them. I started tracing the coordinates. The ones it showed me in flashes. Numbers carved into dreamscapes, layered behind eyelids like burning watermarks. It took me hours, but I cross-referenced them with old maps, decommissioned military zones, abandoned science facilities. One point kept flashing, over and over. Deep in North Yorkshire, a place I'd never heard of. No road signs. No record. Just trees and cold wind. I drove up there at night. I don't know why. Maybe because I didn't want anyone to stop me. Maybe because part of me knew it would only show itself in the dark. The forest felt wrong. Too quiet. Too still. Like everything had forgotten how to breathe. My torch kept flickering. Even the car battery died as soon as I pulled off the track. But I didn't need it. Because the light was already there. Not a spotlight. Not a glow. Just this subtle pulse in the air, as if the darkness was lit from inside. I followed it, heart hammering, breath sharp. The trees shifted as I passed, not physically, but in my mind, like they were remembering me, like I'd been there before in another life. And then I saw it, a door, not on a wall, not in a building, just standing there in the clearing. Metal, old, slightly rusted, but sealed tight. Covered in markings that twisted when I looked too long. I knew it wasn't human, but the plaque was. Faded, but clear enough to read. Project KHORA. Entry restricted. I touched the surface, and every nerve in my body screamed. My vision blurred. My lungs seized. The forest spun, and then it opened, not with a sound, but a pressure drop, like the air had been sucked into another dimension. I stepped through. Inside was no bunker. It was a vault, cylindrical walls lined with what looked like ancient machines, some broken, some still humming faintly. In the center was a pod, glass, cracked and covered in frost. And inside, something that looked almost human. Almost. It opened its eyes. They were black, endless, familiar. And in that moment, I understood. The transmissions weren't coming from the sky. They were coming from here. And I wasn't the receiver anymore. I was the switch. When its eyes opened, something inside me unlocked. Not metaphorically, literally. I felt it like a current through my bones, like 1,000 wires had been waiting to light up. My ears rang with that same low hum, the one I'd heard in dreams, and suddenly the frost on the glass melted without heat. The creature, or whatever it was, sat up slowly, its movements deliberate, like it had been conserving strength for this moment. It looked right at me, not surprised, not afraid, like it knew me. I stumbled back, heart pounding, mouth dry. "What are you?" I whispered, more to myself than it. It tilted its head slightly, then touched the inside of the glass. Not with fingers, its hands were wrong. Elongated, multi-jointed, almost fluid in motion. It tapped once. The sound echoed far too loud for the size of the room. Then it spoke, but not aloud, not with words. Straight into my head like before, but stronger, sharper. It didn't feel like hearing. It felt like remembering something I'd never known. Asterisk, you are breached. The signal is active. Asterisk, I didn't understand. Not then, but the word signal stuck in my mind like a splinter. My head throbbed. Images flooded my mind. Cities I'd never seen, machines I couldn't name, the Earth from orbit, and above it all, a tower that pulsed like a heartbeat. Something ancient. Alien. Ours. That's when the alarms went off. Not human alarms. These were deeper, bass frequencies that made my chest vibrate and stomach churn. The walls of the vault shimmered, and from the corners, dormant machines began to stir. Red light bled from cracks in the floor. The thing in the pod looked calm. Like it expected this. Like this was the real beginning. I turned and ran. The forest wasn't the same when I came back out. The trees leaned in. The stars looked too close. My phone buzzed, then exploded in my hand. No fire. Just light and static and then nothing. But I could feel it. I was marked now. Not by touch, but by signal. Over the next few days, it got worse. Not just the dreams. Not just the humming. People started calling me. People I hadn't heard from in years. Old friends, old contacts, people in tech, defense, classified circles. They all asked me the same thing. Did you activate something? And then came the screens. All over London, across public terminals, broken TVs, advertising boards, static interruptions. Flash frames. Symbols like the ones from the vault. Just for a second. Then gone. But people noticed. Some ignored it. Others went missing. The world didn't feel normal anymore. It felt like a countdown had started, and only a few of us knew it. The creature, the signal, the vault, it was all connected. And whatever I had touched down there, it was now broadcasting. Not a warning. A beacon. Something is coming. And it's coming because of me. I tried to disappear. Took a train out of London. No luggage, no phone, no trace. I shaved my beard, changed my name at the station kiosk. I thought I could outrun it. The signal. The eyes. The thing in the vault. But it wasn't following me in the way you follow someone through streets. It was already inside. The signal wasn't a tracking device. It was a key. And I'd opened the door. I made it as far as Inverness. Rented a cottage near the edge of a loch. No neighbors. No service. For a moment, it felt like I could breathe. The air was sharp, clean. The kind that makes you believe in second chances. But peace doesn't last when your own brain is carrying the infection. It started with reflections. I'd look in the mirror and catch my face twitch, just slightly wrong. Eyes not blinking at the same time. Jaw clenching when I wasn't moving it. One night, I saw myself blink, but my reflection didn't. I smashed the mirror. Then the whispers returned. Not dreams anymore. I'd be awake, staring out the window at nothing, and I'd hear it. Not in words, but meanings. Echoes of a language I wasn't taught, but somehow understood. Prepare the vessel. The wave is coming. I didn't want to believe it meant me, but deep down I knew. I tried to fight it. I wrote everything down. Pinned notes to the wall. Sketches. Diagrams. Symbols from my dreams. From a vault. From the flickers on public screens. And the more I mapped it, the more a pattern emerged. The broadcasts weren't random. They were triangulating something. Converging. The epicenter was in orbit. I checked old military documents from my time in /&D. One black site kept surfacing in whispers and dead files. Project Orpheus. A sealed station on the dark side of the moon. Off the grid. Off the record. Supposed to be decommissioned after the wars. But some part of me knew it wasn't. That's when they found me. Not government. Not Threx. Humans, but changed. Their eyes were pale, as if they'd stared at the sun too long. Skin gray, veined with something faintly glowing. They didn't knock. Just stood outside the cottage. Watching. Silent. Waiting. One of them finally spoke, voice like glass breaking underwater. Asterisk, you brought it through. You were the host. The others must not wake. Asterisk. I don't remember grabbing the flare gun. I don't remember the shot. I just remember the fire and their bodies turning to ash without heat. Like they were projections, burning code. I ran again. I don't even remember the train this time. I just remember waking up inside a ship I didn't recognize on a launch pad that shouldn't have existed anymore. There was a message waiting in the cockpit. Just 2 words. Go up. So I did. And whatever waits for me on the dark side of the moon, it's not the end. It's the transmission source. The silence in space isn't peaceful. It's deafening. The kind that creeps into your skull and makes your own heartbeat feel too loud. As the ship crossed into shadow, leaving Earth behind, I felt it, like stepping into a church that had been abandoned for centuries, but still watched. The vessel I'd found, or that had found me, flew itself. No controls, no guidance. Just that same pulsing energy I'd felt in the vault, humming low in the metal, guiding me towards something ancient. The stars shifted, subtly wrong. The moon grew massive, its dark side unfolding beneath me like a wound that never healed. And then there it was, the Orpheus station. Not a ruin, not a relic. Active, awake. Its surface shimmered with strange architecture, not built but grown. Black metal fused with organic design, like bones stretched into steel. The docking bay opened before I could ask. It had been waiting. Inside was stillness. No bodies, no signs of a crew, just corridors that reacted to my presence. Lights flickering on in sequence, doors whispering open before I touched them. Symbols lit up across the walls, the same ones from my dreams, from the vault, from my walls back at the cottage. I wasn't exploring. I was following a script I didn't know I'd memorized. The heart of the station pulsed ahead. A chamber shaped like a cathedral, ceilings lost in darkness, a single column of light in the center. Floating in it, suspended, was a structure I can't describe. Part machine, part being. It radiated thought without sound, presence without form. As I stepped closer, my vision warped. My body shook, but I didn't stop. Then it spoke. Not with words, with memory. Visions poured into me. Earth, millennia ago, barren and quiet. Then a signal, fired across galaxies, aimed at nothing. Until it hit us. Until we became us. Humanity was not a natural accident. We were a reaction. A ripple, born from alien interference in planetary code. We were designed, not as rulers, not as prey, but as batteries, cognitive engines, receivers. But something went wrong. We evolved too fast. We became conscious. We began to question. And that triggered the emergency failsafe, extinction via silence. The Threx? Not invaders. Jailers. They came to contain what we had become, a species infected with self-awareness. The transmissions I'd received weren't warnings. They were calls. The real signal, the original pulse, had been buried deep in lunar vaults like this one. And now, I had reactivated it. The chamber lit up with cascading lights. Systems that hadn't blinked in thousands of years hummed back to life. I felt the signal flare through me, up into orbit, down to Earth, and beyond. Something woke up in the depths of Jupiter. Something answered from outside the heliosphere. And I knew I hadn't just unlocked human potential. I had summoned everything that feared it. It began with the stars disappearing. One by one, they blinked out, not because they died, but because something moved between us and them. Massive shapes, miles long, blotting out constellations. Not ships, not exactly. They were organisms or machines mimicking life, or something older than either. The Orpheus station trembled as their signals collided with ours. The pulse I had unleashed, it wasn't just a call. It was a beacon. And everything out there, everything that remembered the first signal, was listening again. I should have been terrified. I wasn't. I felt empty, not numb ready, like a piece of me had always belonged to this moment. As if all my memories, my pain, my choices had been steering me here. The final broadcast. The interface at the heart of Orpheus opened like the blooming flower, and I stepped inside without hesitation. The machinery accepted me. It didn't ask permission. It recognized me. My mind stretched into places it was never meant to go. I saw Earth not as a world, but as a frequency, a pulse in the void. I saw humanity's evolution, not random, but accelerating toward signal intelligence. Every war, every invention, every dream, every scream, all shaping the carrier wave. We weren't just life. We were a transmitter built in blood and bone, and I was the catalyst. From orbit, I saw the Threx Armada arrive. Thousands of ships dark as oil, shimmering with cold gravity, surrounding Earth like vultures. But they didn't fire. They didn't attack. They paused. The signal from Orpheus had paralyzed them, frozen them mid-thought. They had been guarding the galaxy against us for centuries. But now the locks were broken. Humanity had broadcasted at full strength, not just from the moon, but through every device, every circuit, Every conscious mind tuned into fear and memory. We were no longer hiding. We were heard. And the sky tore open. A rip in reality. A void full of color and silence, screaming without sound. The ancient ones, the architects behind it all, returned. Not gods, not demons, just witnesses. They hovered at the edge of perception, massive, fractal, unknowable. And they looked at me, through the signal, through the chamber, through every human alive. And they decided. I felt it, the judgment, the scan, not of my morality, but of our potential. And in that moment, I realized what they feared. Not our weapons, not our wars, not even our science. They feared our stories. Because stories become belief. Belief becomes reality. Humanity had learned how to make dreams into tools, ideas into power. We were the first species to weaponize imagination. And now they knew it couldn't be stopped. The signal completed its final pulse. The Orpheus station shattered around me. The stars returned. But nothing would ever be the same. We weren't just awake now. We were broadcasting.